Hi guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at a few gray zone warfare loadouts that I like to use. Again, this is all just personal preference. I'm not trying to maximize the accuracy or find out what one tap's the best or whatnot. I'm just looking for guns that I've enjoyed using, and I figured, sharing some of this information, you guys might find some kits that you like to run as well. There's probably 8 different guns, maybe 7. I don't know that I like to use, but we'll dive right into things. Take a look at the loadouts and go from there. Alright guys, this first gun we're going to be taking a look at is this M4A1. It's not a one-shot wonder. It's not the M4 meta. It's just meant to get the job done, medium range to up close. And the idea is, if you're in a tier 3 area like Midnight Sapphire, Fort Nara, Tiger Bay, and you need to drop a few enemies, this is going to be the way to do it. Get up close to them, spray them, again half mag, maybe a quarter of the mag, and then on top of that, the ammo that I like to run out of it, that you can find in those tier 3 areas, is going to be this 5.56 M855 ammo. It's not the best, but you can go through these tier 3 areas, kill enemies with it, and just keep picking it up. It's good to be able to get that use case out of the ammo that you pick up off the guard, so you don't have to worry about continuously buying it. But this is pretty good, pretty decent build. This is going to be once you've gotten Gunny up to rank 3. It'll be easy to build this, but essentially starting with the upper, got a Daniel Defense MK18. There's no MK14. There's no real reason why I chose this. I just kind of like the color scheme that I've gone with here. So it's just complete preference. Again, it's not meant to be the best on paper or whatever. It's just meant to be able to get the job done. But where I can, I'm maximizing the stats. For instance, still got the best gas block in here for the M4, which is JPGS 10D. And then on top of that, running this shorty barrel, mainly just so I can whip the gun around, not looking to have it be super sluggish, doesn't need to kill enemies long range, just needs to be able to shoot up close and quick. On that barrel, I am running the KAC QD flash hider with the suppressor. There's not really a big of a difference between this and I think it's the RC10. I forget what the other one's called for them for, but it just weighs a little less and looks cool, I think. That's another theme that's going to pop up throughout the course of this video. Is just some of the guns that I'm running, they look cool. They don't need to be perfect on paper, but just enough to get the job done. For the handguard, I'm running this X7M. I think it's I'll just say it's a 7-inch handguard with the AFG M-Lock grip on there. Most of this M-Lock stuff, it is going to weigh less than the Picatinny. Stat lines, again, it's going to be low. We're not looking for crazy high stats. We're just looking for small, lightweight, so we have the ability to keep the handling on the weapon higher. For the sight picture, or the sight that I'm running, for this, you can throw just about any dot on it you like, personal preference. The one that I like is this. We're running this EOTech sight, and specifically, there's a couple different ones you'll notice in Gunny's shop. I have this circle 2-dot, so it's going to be the circle picture you see from the EOTech with the little flared out, north, east, south, and west parts of it, and then there's a dot in the middle of that. So big circle, got some lines off the side. There's a dot in the middle, but there's, more importantly, this is the 2-dot, so there's 2 dots in the middle. I'll show you what that looks like here. Basically, when you ADS, this is the sight picture. I like having those 2 dots because then I can get on a target. I'll just go down range real quick to show you. The idea being I can get on a target and I can stay vertical with them. This gun is going to kick mainly straight up and down. So if I'm at a far, I need to lock onto a target. I don't want just a single dot and not be able to kind of get an idea of where my barrel's going. I'll just drop those 2 dots on an enemy, fire a couple bursts. For the most part, it's going to stay in between or on point with those dots that you see in the sight. Just easier to kind of hit if you are shooting targets at longer ranges. But more importantly with this, a few more things here. Running the best charging handle just to kind of make the most out of the stat lines that I have. Same thing with the grip, specifically just to kind of squeak out the stats that I can for, reasonable trades and minuscule increases in the weight. I've got this DD enhanced AR pistol grip. And finally, to bring up the rear, no pun intended, I am running the MOE stock with the butt pad again. It's going to weigh a little more than some of your other options, but it just gives us a good decent amount of stat lines to add to our M4 build. But that's basically it for my M4. I'll pull up one of my other favorite guns to use here as well in a second. Next up, one of the other guns that I've more recently started to use is going to be this M700. Now, I don't have Banshee fully maxed out to where I can go buy these parts. Some of these parts I found, some of these parts have been dropped, some of these parts I've gotten requests. But specifically, with the M700, it's going to be, there's a couple different routes you can go depending on the parts used. The more accuracy you get out of your barrel, the more weight your M700 is going to be. If it's too heavy, then you might not be able to run another gun without being overweight. Same thing with most of the other guns you find in this list. So a key theme is just weight to accuracy. Where do you want that fine balance to be? For this specific M700 build, I've gone the route of accuracy with as much weight reduction as possible. You'll notice, again, we've got a .55 MOA. That just means it's a sniper. As they get further away from enemies, I want to be able to hit targets. If I see skin, I want to shoot the skin. I want to kill whoever the enemy is. I don't want to worry about hitting the armor, not one-tapping, that sort of thing. So to dive right into things, starting off with the barrel, the one that I think makes the most sense for this build, again, we're going weight to accuracy, is going to be this M700 VTR barrel, 22-inch. This one has no ability to have a suppressor. It has a muzzle brake on there. So one good thing you get, you kind of want this from a sniper, is muzzle velocity. So it's giving us plus 2% muzzle velocity on whatever rounds you're using. That's going to add to the armor penetration you get out of those rounds, and it's going to be really good on armor. Right now, this is before nighttime drops, so the AIs will react to you regardless if you have a suppressor or not. So this is a good way to, negate that. Why throw a suppressor in there, get some increased weight when you can just have built-in muzzle brake, no suppressor, don't worry about the enemy seeing us, and you get really good accuracy out of this. So you save weight and you keep good accuracy. That's going to be the base of this build. For the furniture, I'm running the M700 Mod X stock. The real reason I'm doing this is just for the ability to change the grip, but it's basically going to be roughly the same whether you use this furniture or another type of furniture that you see from the M700. Maybe not the wood, but the other polymer version would be good alternative to this. This is just going to make us squeak a little bit more out of the stats. It's going to add some weight, but again, it'll be minimal on the weight. Because of this furniture that we're running, this M700 Mod X stock, I'm able to fit on there an M4 buffer tube with, again, an OE stock. It's just because we can add the butt pad to it, get a little more out of that stock specifically. Another common theme here is DD enhanced grip. We're adding relatively little weight from this grip to the other grips that are available, but we do get the most stat line wise, so it's a good pick up there. And then finally, I've got the Mod X handguard on there as well. This is good to add a sight. Right now, there's no underbarrel attachments like bipods or lasers that you can throw on here. I'm sure in the future maybe we'll have that capability. Right now, this is just on there strictly because we're getting some good recoil control out of it. The weight, again, not much different from what's available. It's just, I think it's the better version of the just regular polymer furniture you can pick up in Banshee's shop. Excuse that person next to me shooting. But lastly, to top everything off, the sight that I like to use between the two long-range zoom scopes that we have in the game is going to be this Viper PST Gen 2. I really love the sight picture on this. It's much better than the Voodoo, I think. Voodoo's has another 1,000-meter scope, but this Viper PST scope specifically I like the most. I'll kind of give you a picture of that right here so you can get an idea of what to expect. Now here's what this here's what the sniper looks like in hand. I think it just looks beautiful. Nice little action shot there. Muzzle brake looks pretty sick. It almost looks like the barrel's triangular too. But again, we're gonna be at range. Got this nice, simplistic sight. As we zoom in, we get more information on screen. You don't need to zoom all the way in, but I like it. Got the nice little red piece in the center, and it's gonna be 0.5 MOA. So whenever we're on target, we're gonna land shots wherever we're shooting. For this, you don't want to run the first type of ammo you get. One ammo that I've found success with, if you want to one tap through armor, on skin, in the head, wherever it's at, it's going to be this specific 7.62x51 ammo. Now, Banshee sells this at level 2. I don't know the inner workings of the ammo. I kind of look at ammo spreadsheets, but specifically this one has gotten the job done most consistently for me. I've got that 0.5 MOA basically, so I think it's a ½ inch every 100 yards you are that the bullet's going to miss. So you think of a cone expanding as you ADS towards a target. That's the first leg of the battle. The second leg is going to be this ammo that we use. How quickly is it going? So when it hits the target, is it going to penetrate into their armor? Is it going to stop? Is it going to go straight through them? This ammo is kind of quick. Plus we've got that 2% velocity on there. So you add 2% on top of this. And then the dispersion, because it is... it doesn't say it here, but it's steel core. It's going to go straight through whatever armor you have. Most of the time, up to those top tier levels of armor, it's going to cut right through like butter. And another thing to explain that, another stat line, is just going to be this negative 3% dispersion. So we're going to go way into the armor with the penetrating power of this specific M80A1 ammo. Moving on to things, we'll go into some of the other ARs that I have. Well, specifically this one here. This M700, again, gets the job done, but if you are looking for something a little more meta, this is my version of it. You can change this around, change up the mags. The goal of this M4 is specifically going to be a longer range niche. You're going to want to one-tap people on the head. You want to be able to have full auto capabilities of an M4. You want long range. This is probably going to be your best option. Specifically, the upper, the lower, it's all Daniel Defense. I'm not trying to go any crazy color schemes here. The idea here is I want my recoil control to be the highest it can possibly be, because this is going to be just a marksman rifle. I call it, a DMR build on an M4 platform. Starting with that upper, Daniel Defense, get this Gunny level 3. You can also probably find it in the wild, or somebody could drop it. And keep it consistent with just putting the best gas block on there. You can increase some stat lines with very minimal increases in weight. The suppressors that I'm using, I just like this KAC suppressor specifically. You can run the, I think I said it earlier, RC5, but this one gets the job done as well. And then the handguard that you're going to be looking at is this DD RS2 12-inch grip. It's going to give us some really good rolls on the recoil control, some modest increase in weight there, and then the vertical grip, this is all going to come down to preference. There's some other ones in there specifically for Picatinny. This DD vertical grip is going to add some good stat lines. It's going to reduce handling. One thing we want to do is just be able to, again, hit enemies further down range, kill them before they get close to us. Gives us the highest chance of completing whatever missions we have. First sight picture, I am using the Razor scope here. That's the 1:6 version preference here. I just think it's better than the Voodoo because it gives a better sight picture. It's got the nice red vertical in the center, and for me, it just works. But again, it can come down to personal preference. Kind of rounding things off, keeping a same theme here with the grips, and we can increase the stat lines while having minimal increases to weight. Like this DD grip a lot on most of the builds that I run wherever I can, so I'll put that on there for the stat increases. Same thing with the charging handle for any of these M4 builds. Just run Supreme, it's going to be the best one. Unlocked at Gunny level 3. And then finally, Bringing up the rear, no pun intended, we are running the MOE stock with the butt pad attachment and squeezing the most out of the stats as possible. And then, I guess finally, 18-inch barrel, we want long range, we want a decent MOA on the M4, and we want some good stat lines. This is going to be a 12% increase to muzzle velocity, going to be good for stopping power against armored targets. Ammo that you can run for this is, you can run this M855 stuff, but I don't have any in my inventory, but you can pick up the best stuff from Gunny. I think it's the M855. It's a little darker than this one. It's not green tip, it's the black tip. But here's what the sight picture looks like for this M4 Daniel fence. It's nice. I've got the shorty mag on there, just again reduces the weight a little bit. My goal with this is to be able to take out targets at that longer range. Put targets down range, it's going to land pretty much wherever I'm shooting. Going to be good. Main goal is semi-auto, one taps to the head. If you need to run auto, by all means, but it's going to be kind of irrelevant whenever you are dealing with large amounts of enemies at closer ranges. Longer ranges, same sort of deal. But anyway, this is my DMR M4 build. Kind of continuing on, we'll go into some of my more, not really meta, but fun guns to use. Starting out with the trusty AK-74N. Give you guys a quick peek of the animations here. Nothing crazy going on. There's some specific things that I'll highlight here. Your 5.45 ammo, not the best ammo in the game. It's not going to beat the M4 per se, but for the job we're trying to do here, I think it can perform marginally better. That 5.45 ammo you can find out in the field, no problem, and you can unlock it pretty early with Turncoat. Specifically, the ammo that I run here with this AK-74N is going to be this PP 545 by 39 ammo. It's got the lowest dispersion, steel core. It'll go through most major armors and nearly one tap if possible. If you're able to. Helmets might stop it, so you'll probably have to deal with some bullet sponges when shooting this. But for the most part, this is going to clear through most major adds and most tier 3 areas, so you should be good to go there. No option for a 60 round mag, so of course go with a 30 rounder. And the main thing that you get out of this, I guess, off meta build is going to be pretty close to what an M4 can do for a fraction of the weight, pretty much. So if you're looking to have super high stamina reserves, be able to run around, not worry about running out of breath too often, this is going to be the perfect build for you. And diving into things, you can see that MOA is pretty high here. Again, we're looking for that medium range. This is not going to be the long range answer. I think the M4 or M700 is going to take up that piece of the pie. But recoil control can stay pretty competitive with what an M4 can put out. Arm stamina drain, very low. We like that. We don't want any high stats in there. We want to be as competitive as possible, keeping that low. Same thing with reload time. And finally, handling. That high handling time with low weight means that you'll have more stamina reserves and be able to whip this gun around corners, get shots down range, and otherwise tear through targets. Now, what makes up the majority of this build? The first thing that you can do is you want to get that AK-74 in. The lower you can buy that, I think from Turncoat at level 1, maybe 2. That's going to be the husk of this build. Now, when it comes to the upper, the specific barrel that we're taking a look at today, if I can get it pulled up, is going to be, again, that's the AK-74 lower, barrels attached. The dust cover that we're going to be looking at is this Picatinny dust cover. I think it's got a good weight. There's no real reason why I decided to do this other than the fact that you have the ability to stick irons on here. So for whatever reason you want to whip this EOTech off in a jiffy, you can do that and still have a nice sight picture. Same thing if you wanted to run a scope, you can just go switch from the iron sights to the scope to the iron sights to the scope, and otherwise be able to get that good visual downrange. Now, for the actual EOTech that I'm using, I still favorite that circle 2-dot just because it gives me a nice vertical idea of where to put the sights, either at the top of that, the bottom of that. Keep the enemy in the middle. I'm going to put shots downrange and they will land. And then I just did the tan version here, the FDE version, to match my handguard. Going into the handguard, the one that I've opted to use here is one of the ones that I found in the wild, it's just the AK MOE handguard. It's got the lower weight. There is one additional handguard that adds about 2% more. I want to go in here and see. It adds about 2% more to the recoil control, so you can get +6. Again, the 2%, not crazy. If you wanted to get 31, you can. I'm just leaving it 29. I keep the weight low as well, and then running the AFG. Because this is M-Lock, I'm running the AFG M-Lock grip on here. Again, adds some decent stats. It's going to be preference depending whether you use Picatinny or MOE, but that is the handguard. Gas block, again, just using the AK-74 gas tube on here. And going into the last little couple pieces, RK3 grip. You can find it in the wild in most containers, or I think there is a AK or AK-74 that you can buy from Turncoat or Artisan. Throw that on here. This is going to be, again, marginal increase in weight, great stats though. Probably the best in the game for the AK style weapons, but do recommend that. And then lastly, the barrel modifications that I'm running on here are the PBS suppressor for specifically the AK-74. Just gives us some noise reduction, nothing too crazy, good recoil control, lowers the weapon handling, adds some dispersion. But otherwise, if you wanted to, you can throw in a muzzle brake on here to keep you want that dispersion to be negative still, more accuracy downrange. That'd be the way to do it. This is just, I like the way it sounds. I'm sure in the future when they actually add suppressor mechanics in the game, it'll be good in keeping things covert. Again, adding about 1 kilogram to the weight here, so you can imagine deleting that off here is going to bring this way down. You're almost in the 2s now. You've got some very competitive stats with the M4 style weapons for a fraction of the cost. Lastly, AK RP charging handle, but that breaks down the AK-74. I'll put some shots downrange just to kind of give you an idea how this shoots. And it stays pretty level. Again, if I am shooting, keeping medium range, not going too long, this is going to be perfect for getting the job done. All you do is get 2 taps to the head, couple to the body, shred through their armor, and make your way to the objective. Final 2. I'll compare this M700 with the current one that I have in my inventory, but I'll do that after I showcase this nice M870 shotgun. Now this is not meta by any means. It is something that you can use if you are very close range, you have enough weight to spare at 4.6 kilograms, and you just want to use something that, again, isn't M4. This will kill at roughly 10 meters to the head. The specific build for this is going to be starting out with the M870 10-round magazine. Throw this M870 Picatinny furniture onto it. The sight that you use, completely up to you. I just still have the 510 reflex on it from HoloSun. There are better sights out there. Again, one could make the argument to use the MOE. Use the EOTech sight. I haven't done that yet, but it would be a good alternative. Handguard-wise, I got the M870 VOA handguard with the AFG grip on it to kind of edge out some of those stats. Same thing with the grip, again, keeping that consistent theme of DD grip and MOE style. Nothing crazy, stat lines, really good weapon handling, really good recoil control, but this is going to be the best at those 10-meter ranges if you are looking to just kind of tear through enemies, shoot in the head, get headshots, all that fun stuff. And then finally, for the muzzle brake, got the tactical muzzle brake at 30% recoil control, adding a fraction of the weight to the build. Last weapon here that I'll showcase, I kind of mentioned this at the very beginning of the video, but we have this M700 now. With the M700, you can squeeze out as much MOE as possible, or I should say as least, but the one trade-off you're going to have is you are going to create a very heavy weapon. Now, that could be detrimental to you. The higher your weight gets, the quicker your run stamina will drain. So if you put on a run target, that is going to be a negative effect to you. What you will get out of it, though, is going to be a weapon that is very accurate. And I'll put it up against this M700 that I showcased earlier, specifically this new one that I have in my hand. It has a different barrel on there. It's a barrel that allows us to stick a suppressor on it, but this barrel in particular is giving us a .48 MOE, so very, very low, one of the lowest in the games. It's giving us much more muzzle velocity at 6%, again for that armor pen. And then finally on here, we've got a SRD suppressor. Now, the muzzle brake is giving us 10% recoil control. That's great, adding a fair bit of weight there. And then the suppressor that we have is this SLH762 QD suppressor, giving a really good reduction in recoil. Kind of taken away from weapon handling, giving us a good bit of dispersion. So that's something that we might not want, that might be negative, but we're getting a good bit of reduction in noise there. But here's these two barrels side by side. Again, we've got much more weight on this more accurate M700 than we do on this lighter M700. That's really the trade-off you'll make when deciding which of these you want to run. With this heavier one, you'll have less room to add a secondary weapon to your loadout if you did want something there to handle enemies close range. Again, we had some options here with the M4 and the AK that you could run as sort of a backup to this if you wanted to snipe as your primary role. Most of the stuff in this build is fairly similar to what we saw here in the lighter version of the M700. Still running that Viper scope over the Voodoo sight, still keeping the same lower furniture for this M700 as well over the polycarbonate. If you want to reduce the weight, don't care too much about these stat lines here. You can always run that polymer furniture or the wood furniture depending on what your preference is. The main thing it's going to come down to is just going to be barrel and how you want to manage the weight of your gun. If you really wanted to make this thing an accuracy machine, you run this M700 this M700 heavy barrel, and then just run only a muzzle device on it. You don't need to run a suppressor. You can just run the SRD muzzle brake on here, and that is going to give you a really good MOA at .48 and keep your dispersion very low as well. And dispersion, all that is just, is that bullet going to penetrate to the target, or is it just going to break on impact? But that's pretty much it, guys. That's all the weapons that I have, that I run, that I like to swap between to kind of keep things interesting versus just running a meta M4 build. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Where I can, think of different things to give you guys ideas on, and then I'll record these videos, share them with you, and hopefully otherwise make your gameplay a little more interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.